Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, so Brian, so it's amazing, we love it, it's awesome, but it can't be all sunshine and rainbows. There have to be some warts. So since now that you are a Tesla owner, give us the real scoop that we're not going to see in the advertising and in the people that are excited about it. What are the real negatives about the automobile?
Nothing I'm going to share here takes away that I'm ready to not have this car anymore, because I don't want anybody to think that I'm trashing my car, but I am going to be honest with you, and I feel a little guilty because I'm about to show you. So this is a beautiful car, but I'm going to show you a few things that if you ever see me out and be like, or you see it in the parking lot, you go, oh, there it is. He showed me. So I'm about to show you. It's kind of like, you know, pointing out the ugly parts of your girlfriend or your wife, which is highly inappropriate. But for you guys in the Money Guy family, I'm going to share some things.
Okay.
So the first thing that I've already had to rescue, here let me go ahead and give you the casualty list. A valet driver, a school teacher, because I went and picked up my daughter yesterday from school, and the school teacher could not figure out how to get my daughter in the car. I had to do this. I look like an acrobatic trying to get back there to hit the button to open up the back door. The door handles are kind of unique in this car. They look beautiful. I mean, from an airflow and aerodynamics, I'm sure it's outstanding. But when people walk up to this car who are not familiar with Tesla, who haven't read the forums, they don't know how to get into this thing. So it's
door open.
Yeah, I mean, it's because they're counting on, like on all the other Teslas, the door handle kind of comes out, and then it's a traditional handle that you pull. These you have to push at the back. It pulls the lever out, kind of like a suicide handle, and then you pull it and it releases it. You get used to it very quickly if you own it, but there's going to be a learning curve for everybody that's not part of the Tesla family. So that's the ins and outs is a little weird. And then also realize everything's electric in this car. So the way you get out of a Tesla is there's buttons on all the top of the door handles. But Tesla was smart enough. They said, well, wait a minute, the battery might not always work. We got to make sure people can still get out of the car. Sure. So they put an emergency release handle in here. But the problem is, it's exactly where it would be for anybody who's had a normal car. So you look at, if you sit in this car, it's right above where the power windows are. There's a tendency that passengers want to pull the handle, and that's, you're like, well, that's not a big deal. But yes, it is a big deal, because it even tells you when you pull that handle on the screen, it warns you, it's like, don't do this very often, because you'll notice when you open the door in this car, the windows come down. I don't know if it's a half an inch, but they come down because they're trying to protect the trim and the seal that's around the door. So if you pull that emergency handle, it doesn't give the motor enough time to lower the window to let you out. Sure. So every time somebody gets in my car, I feel like I'm giving a tutorial 101 on how to get in and out of my car. That's going to take some getting used to. So, I mean, those are nitpicks, but it is something that I think people should know. The next thing, we're all used to blinkers. I look like a person that doesn't know where I'm going. So I'm going to do a slight blinker. I'm not going to do a full one. I'm just going to push it up slightly. See, it gives us 2, 3, there you go, 3 flashes, and then it was out. So we'll do it again, 3 flashes, then we're out. Now, if we want to go longer, I push it all the way up. That's a hold. It will hold until we turn the steering wheel. Okay. So we're at a stoplight.
Oh, look, there's a car. It shows you the car.
Oh, and it does show the car. Yeah. I mean, what's funny is when we're multiple deep, it usually will show, it shows a Model X.
That's nice.
So we're going to turn and it cuts off. But I've gotten better at this. A brand new person who didn't realize that there's 2 different thresholds with the blinker, you start looking a little crazy because maybe you want to just go in the left lane here. So you push it accidentally down hard. Right. So you get in the left lane, but the thing's still going. So then you push it right to cut it, cancel. Oh, and it's on again. Oh no! So you have to learn the difference between pushing hard, pushing soft, and the subtleties of it. And when you're first getting used to a car, because you're used to when you put it in the turn signal, it locks into position. Right. This always comes to center, so you need to know just the difference. Now, I think over time I will grow to like this. But the first 3 weeks, it was a challenge getting used to it, and probably just because I didn't realize there was a difference.
Right.
Another little thing I've noticed about the Model 3 is that it has this big display that when you put it in reverse, a good 2/3 of the screen turns into your rear camera.
Sure.
Unfortunately, if you do anything like mess with the radio, or I say radio, it's so traditional. If I just turn on Slacker radio or do any other controls, it takes away the camera. So if you put it in reverse,
Which all you do to do that is just click the knob up.
And now we have the radio paused. We're on the Foo Fighters radio, of course. But what if all of a sudden I didn't like the music, so I hit this? Uh-oh. Even though we're in reverse, you can see the camera is completely gone. So put it in park, put it in reverse, and then follow a mental note. Brian, don't do anything until you get reverse.
So there's not a way to get the camera back?
Well, I mean, I put it in reverse, put it in park, and put it back in reverse, but I couldn't like X out and all of a sudden
get back to
it
your
came
camera.
back. I've had several situations where I've gotten Bluetooth phone calls from people, you know, say they were solicitations or phone numbers I didn't recognize, so I deferred it and did not take it. And then there's been some clicking sound within the radio to the point that I've had to reboot the display about 3 times. So there's a little bit there.
So you're driving the car, you get a phone call, you decline it, it freezes up? Is that like a big safety?
No, it doesn't freeze. There's been no safety concerns. It's more of just an inconvenience of the radio had this clicking sound, or it becomes like there was some conflict between the Bluetooth convert, you know, because you're listening to the music and then all of a sudden the Bluetooth tries to take over. Trying to give it back to the music seems to be some type of software glitch.
But you said you had to reboot, so is that annoying?
Yeah.
You had to pull over, turn the car off?
Now here's the cool thing. You don't have to, this is what I think is shows that they've really put some thought into this. When you get to the next stop sign, stop light, all you do to reboot the display is you put your foot on the brake and then you hold down the center console buttons, the center steering wheel buttons. The system will reboot itself. But here's the cool thing. The car still works. Like, you can still drive.
Okay, so
I've done this at stoplights and had no trouble because the car will still operate, and you'll see that the display turns itself right back on. Music picks up as soon as it catches its LTE signal. So it's more of just an inconvenience, and it's no different than I know whenever my iPhone gets a new update, sometimes you have to reboot the system so that all the glitches and bugs and everything get out. Since this is so much driven by software, I think it's just going to be a new norm with automobiles that you do have to reboot them from time to time just because they have so much technology built into them. The other thing that I've gotten used to on other cars is when you have blind spot detection, which Tesla has blind spot detection. It's just that it shows up here on your little cartoon of the vehicle. You'll see if something's in your left or right.
Okay.
But that's not intuitive to the way we all drive. When we drive, we typically, if we're going to transition to the left lane, we'll look over our left shoulder. So it's convenient if there's a sensor right here on your mirror that says, hey, there's a car there or a car there. That makes sense. It doesn't make sense that I don't have blind spot detection in the mirrors. I wish that it had that. We also we have all these seats that are heated. I mean, you even have all the back row is heated seats, including the center section, which I don't know who wants to sit in the center seat, but they have a heated center seat, but there's no ventilated seats, which down here in the South, ventilated seats are kind of a nice thing to have if you're talking about luxury vehicles. And then I think something you have seen a lot in the press is fit and finish. There have been some things that are brand new auto manufacturers. This is their first take into trying to build a lot of quantity of vehicles, really mass producing, and it's improving very rapidly. Like it's just like this car. The drive is awesome on, but the first ones that came off the assembly line, the stiffness was supposedly too strong, so they put softer springs in it. But there's also fit and finish in the fact that this is, if you go on any of the forums, you'll notice right here on the front pillars in front of the steering wheel and the display of the dash, there's a little bit of a bulge in the trim piece. Now that I've shown you this, you're like, wait a minute, there is.
Yeah, 10,000 years, I would have never found that.
But that's a known thing. Also, you'll see on the back, on the trunk lid, the left side's a little different than the right side on the fit and finish of the trunk lid. And then one of the things that surprised me on this car is right here, this thing has this beautiful panoramic glass roof, and then it's got a huge windshield, so you're surrounded in glass. Well, it looks like whenever they were installing my front windshield, there was a little adhesive that got on the underside right in the black trim, and you can see it. You can see that there's a strip of glue that shouldn't have been there, that got there in the manufacturing process, and I don't think there's a way to fix that. So fit and finish, I mean, this is a new auto manufacturer doing mass building. they got
Still trying to
some
figure it
growing pains that they're working through. But overall, I think it's pretty good. And then here's the last thing that I'll pick on is that I'm 6'3". I used to tell people I was 6'4", but I think now that I'm over my 40s, I'm shrinking a little bit. Still taller than Bo.
Not even close.
But here's the thing about the car. When you pop the trunk, now Model S and Model X have power lift gates, and this is a trunk. It's not a hatchback. This is actually a trunk. But when you pop it and it opens up, it's high. I mean, I will tell you, it's a stretch for me to reach up, and there's some resistance to push the trunk closed.
Close it.
I think a smaller person is going to have some trouble with opening and closing the trunk. So it's just something that would be nice if they
Do they have the
that.
auto button where you can push it and
It's
it comes
not.
down?
It's all very much just manual. You pull it. There's a handle that you can grab, but it's just kind of an awkward pull to open and close the trunk. It's okay for me, but I think that people who are, like I said, who are not as big might have some issues with that. One last thing. This is truly a nitpick, but this is what's awesome about the Tesla. It has cameras everywhere. I mean, I think we have a few cameras up here right above the rearview mirror. We also have cameras in the front pillar above by the front tire. We have pillars right here where you open the door and the side pillars. We have cameras in the back. We have all these cameras, but the only camera you actually get to see is your rear view camera. I don't understand with all these cameras why we can't do the cool aerial view like you see in Audis, you see them in Nissans, where it looks like you have your own little drone that's kind of hovering above the car, showing you when you're parking how close you are to things. That's not in this vehicle, and I don't understand why. Why don't we get an aerial vision? But we have this huge, beautiful monitor. We have all these cameras. It seems like we have all the recipe ingredients to make something happen. It's just the chef, Mr. Musk, has not made it available to us.
So Elon, if you're listening, which I'm sure he is,
aerial view would be outstanding. And plus, cool factor. Can you imagine when you have your friends in here and you're showing and it looks like you're parking? Because that's always a big sizzle moment when I show people that in my wife's car. So that would be a cool feature that they could definitely add to the Tesla.